Have the strangest feeling to know what to believe in. Cause every time you touch me, I can't control my body. Oh, baby, you are on my mind. All that.
Y bienvenidos una vez más, soy Gabriela Gaona y estaré como anfitriona en esta conferencia. En esta conferencia nos acompaña Sapna Rao. Ella es ingeniera en sistema de Lockheed Martin Space, una empresa aeroespacial de Estados Unidos que tiene sede en Denver, Colorado. Sapna trabaja como Commercial Civil Space y también ha trabajado en varias misiones de naves espaciales, desde Orion hasta en el programa de Artemis de aterrizajes lunares. También está muy interesada en lo que es ciencia de datos e inteligencia artificial y cómo eso se aplica en naves espaciales. Sapna tiene una licenciatura en Ingeniería Aeroespacial en Virginia Tech. Es originaria de Virginia, pero actualmente está viviendo en Denver, Colorado. Y fuera del trabajo le gusta esquiar y hacer caminatas. Welcome, Sapna.
Thank you so much, Gabby. Thanks for having me here. Really excited to talk to all of you today. And I will start sharing my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So today I'm going to be talking to all of you on how to advocate for yourself and how to grow your career and take your career into your own hands. This is something that I've had to learn during my 3-year long career, which isn't a long time, but I've had to learn a lot to maintain and grow and get a lot of awesome opportunities, like talking to all of you today. So I'm excited to share all of my experiences and knowledge, and also have some resources that all of you can actually use. So starting off, I want to just go over more info about myself, and thanks, Gabby, for the awesome bio, but going a little bit more into detail, I'm 25 years old from Fairfax, Virginia. I live in Denver, Colorado, which is in the mountains. I am Indian American heritage. So my parents are from India and immigrated to the US. So I'm very proud of my Indian heritage. And some interests of mine outside of work are skiing, hiking, baking, traveling. And I was actually out in Dubai last week for a conference, so recovering from some jet lag. And I also love doing STEM outreach, so talking to students and showing representation of women in engineering. So going into more of my career journey, I chose aerospace engineering for college for my degree, mainly because I thought it just like was the coolest thing you could do, and wanted to work on planes or even space. And so I tried to do a little bit of both. So I did some space activities and also did some more plane related activities. I was in an organization called SADS, which stands for the Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. And with that, we go to conferences all about space and meet a lot of different people. And we also do projects. And I was also part of a RC plane design team where we designed, built, and flew an RC plane. And you can see a picture on the top right of the screen of my team and I at the competition holding the plane. So I just love all things aerospace and was super passionate about it. And something that was really challenging in college was in aerospace, the ratio of females to males was very low. It was about 20 females in my class of about 100 people. So not a lot of women in the industry and in my classes. And so that, makes it a little difficult to join various groups. Like I joined that design team for the RC planes, and I was, the only woman in the group when I first started. And it was hard for a lot of the other people to treat me the same just because I was a woman and they weren't used to that. And I also got, like a few comments about how building things wasn't really a woman's type of work, which is awful to hear, and crazy nowadays to think that that could even be said. But I've had all sorts of comments like that, and all of those have kind of driven me to keep doing what I'm doing and talk to all of you today to make sure all of you know that you are totally able to do whatever you want to, and all the different things I'll talk to you about today are going to help you get to where you want to be in your career and get a lot of awesome opportunities. So after college, I really wanted to work in human space exploration. And in the US, Lockheed Martin has been doing a lot of human space exploration spacecraft with the Orion vehicle, which is pictured below on the bottom right. So I really wanted to work on Orion, just because I was really passionate about getting people to space and getting people on the moon and to Mars. So that was my dream project to work on. And I was able, through networking in college, to find an awesome position on the Orion team, which was really hard to get into. So that's another valuable lesson that we'll talk about later on, is the power of networking. But when I was at Lockheed, I worked on Orion and worked on the GNCP team, guidance, navigation, control, and propulsion, and I was on the flight software team for that. So I've had a lot of flight software experiences, and have slowly started to learn more software related things, such as machine learning, which is another project that I'm currently working on, is machine learning on the Orion spacecraft. So looking at where to make things easier, with the power of machine learning and AI. So currently, I'm on the advanced programs team as a systems engineer, and I do things like the machine learning project and also a lot of other lunar infrastructure type missions. And the team that I'm on is actually really hard to get into. And all the different things that we'll talk about today are how I was able to maneuver onto that team, and how I'm able to do a lot of awesome assignments and get a lot of great opportunities. So yeah, overall, this is all about me, and now let's get into the good topics of how to advocate for your career. So getting into it, what is advocating for yourself? So this is basically taking your career into your own hands. So not waiting for other people to come up to you and give you opportunities, but for you to align yourself and do all that you can to position yourself for those opportunities. So I always try to do everything I can within my power to get myself to where I want to be, and all these various little things that we're going to talk about today are how I do that and how I did that. So first is building your brand, and this is basically, who are you as a person? Who are you as a professional? So what are your interests career wise? What are your values? What are you really good at? What are you not so good at? Knowing all of those is going to help build your brand. And this is kind of, how the goal of life is to know who you are. This is a little like that, but more with respect to your career. And you don't need to have a full answer, but as much as possible. And there's actually also a really great resource, like a workbook, that I'm hoping to send out to everyone who's interested after this presentation. So next is showing results. And this is all about proving that you're able to do that hard technical work, that you're able to get things done. You can't really expect things to fall into your lap. You have to show and prove that you are technically capable and you can get things done to earn the reward of new opportunities. So we'll talk more about the importance of that and how to best communicate and show your results. Next is find champions, and this is also related to mentoring. So this is all about different mentoring resources that are available for um, all of you in Paraguay and also internationally. So it allows you to get access to mentors all across the world. And also, I want to talk about how to start a mentoring relationship, what makes a good mentor, and why it's so important to have a mentor. So we'll hit all those great topics. After that, we'll talk about building a network and why that is important. And what exactly is a network? How can you build one? How is that going to help you out in your career? Networking has, as I mentioned before in my intro, has really allowed me to get access to a lot of opportunities. So I want to share with all of you today best on how to do that. And next is finding opportunities. So you've done all these various steps and you're ready to go do awesome, cool things. But how do you hear about those things? So we'll talk about how to get access to those and what you can do to see those opportunities. So, starting off with building your brand, there is a PwC, which is a company, and they released this personal branding workbook, which I would love to send to all of you after this presentation. And a quote from that that I really like that defines what a personal brand is that it is your reputation. It is what people know you for, and when they are talking with you and experiencing with you and just having you know, or with you in general. It's what they think about you, about who you are, what you do, how you do it, why you do it. And you want it to be really clear and consistent so people aren't confused about who you are. And also, you become more memorable if you have a constant kind of brand in the minds of others. So this is all what personal branding is. And it's when I first started looking at figuring out what my personal brand was, I had no idea. I just, I'm like, oh, I'm myself. I just know who I am. And I didn't have like a clear answer to a lot of these questions, but going through this workbook really helped me figure it all out. And it also is really neat because it also helps you figure out who you are in life in general. Like why do you like certain things is because of your personality. So it's a really interesting and provoking exercise. So I urge all of you to think deeply on these questions. And for example, I wanted to go through some of these questions with all of you and what my responses would be as an example. So what are your strengths? So basically, what are you really good at? I am really good at connecting personally with other people and working with people in teams and also being inclusive of everyone on a team. Those are my strengths. What is challenging for me is knowing when I've hit my limits in terms of workload. Like sometimes I'll take on too much work and I will not get a lot done. So that's a challenge for me. What are my values? I really value honesty and genuine people. So I like when people bring their true personalities forward, and that is what I get to see. What is my passion? My passion technically is space and doing missions in space and sending people to the moon and Mars. But also, I'm really passionate about working with other people. I just love being around others and get a lot of energy from it. And I just love working on teams. And what is my purpose? My purpose is um, to be a leader in the space industry and also be representation for Indian Americans and Indians in general, and female, also women of color in general, also. Just showing that we have a space as the top leaders in the industry and we are able to do it. So that's my bigger purpose. So that's kind of my brand. And what I try to bring forward whenever I meet new people and when I start working with people on different things. So when you start trying to figure out what you want to do with your career, you want to make sure you can answer all these questions and whatever you do kind of represents that. So definitely urge everyone to know what their brand is. So moving on to showing results, a lot of people will kind of expect things to happen for them. That's called entitlement. And they will not, do a lot of work for those results to happen and still expect, great opportunities. And I really disagree with that. I think you really have to show that you can complete things, you are technically capable, you are able to get things done. That is very important, just getting it all done. So, first of all, you have to be able to demonstrate initiative. So, that is showing that you have the drive to complete things and you are going to be a leader. And that kind of leads into leadership. So, you're able to lead a project or lead a team, and you might not necessarily like being a leader, but I think in any case you eventually have to know how to lead any sort of team or initiative. and just being able to do that direction is really powerful, and it shows that you're able to lead things to completion. And next is organization, which is really tricky, but it's super important. So taking notes during meetings, um, being able to organize all your files in a proper way, having all your papers together, having your schedule figured out. Those are all really small things and seem kind of boring. They're not my favorite things to do, but if you do all of them effectively, it's going to make your life super easy, and it's going to also show that you are responsible and you are organized, and you are going to produce great results because you have everything in order. Next is technical ability. So this is just technically being able to do things like being able to code, being able to, write a machine learning algorithm and create a model, being able to build various structures, being able to do testing, etc. So you have to actually, have that technical ability and build that. And that's really hard to do. That's probably the hardest thing out of all these different things I'm going to talk to you about today is the technical ability part. But all of you are already doing that and doing a great job. So I'm trying to focus on other things around that. But don't forget that technical ability is really the center of um, you advocating for your career because it is the core of what you're going to be able to produce for a team. So wanted to emphasize that. Another major thing with showing results is being able to successfully communicate what you were doing. So this means keeping track of all your accomplishments. And something that I do, I keep a little notebook where I write down all the different things I have completed and the results of completing the task. So if I saved money for my company, I would put that. If I won an award for something, I would put that. Even if I just wrote a certain amount of code, I would put that in my accomplishments list. Next is process. So how did you complete the project? You want to clearly be able to communicate that with other people. So if you are interviewing for a job, you want to be able to talk about the process for a certain project. So communicating the process is an important aspect because it tells everyone how you got there. Another important thing for showing results is lessons learned. So that's what did you learn from your experience? Maybe you had a failure, which is totally fine and is actually awesome to fail. I hate failing, but after I fail, I feel great because I learn more and I actually grow more. If I don't fail, I just stay the same, then I don't really evolve. But learning from your failure is important. Just failing and getting over it and not doing anything with it, that doesn't leave you anywhere. But fully documenting lessons learned and communicating what you learned from your failure is also important. So, whenever you're talking to people for opportunities or for networking, you want to be able to weave in your results that you've accomplished. So, all these different aspects that I just talked about, weaving them into your narrative is really important. So the image on the right kind of synthesizes everything that I talked about. So after you complete a project, you want to be able to document everything that you've done. So that's talking about your accomplishments, the process, lessons learned. Then you want to be able to effectively talk about it to other people so that you can get your word out and get your message out. And with communication also comes putting together presentations. So this one that I'm giving all of you today, similar to that, or just talking without any PowerPoint slides is also great. So just being able to effectively communicate what you've done. Next is a portfolio. So this is a little extra, but it's kind of like a website or on LinkedIn, or just on your computer. You might be able to give it to other people through email. Just a bunch of things that you have actually done that you're able to share with other people. So if you've written a script for something, maybe you have some of you could have that script in there, or if you have produced some really nice user interfaces, you could have pictures of that. So just portfolio is everything that you worked on that you can show to other people. So next is my one of my favorite topics, which is all about finding champions and mentors. So first off, what is the difference between a champion and a mentor? So a champion is someone who actively advocates for you and supports your career. So this person is really going to support you, and if they hear about an opportunity, or if they're in a meeting where you're being talked about, they're going to, help boost you, help talk about you. They're in your corner. They're going to get your name out. They're going to get you opportunities. And next, a mentor is can also do everything that a champion does, but they are mostly meant to give advice and provide support, and are a more regular point of contact that you can ask more personal questions to. So if you're dealing with something personal and you're not sure how to deal with it, it's affecting your work, that could be a good avenue for asking a mentor. And oftentimes, a mentor can become a champion. So I've had a lot of mentors who I've been seeing for quite a while, like almost a few years, and they know me really well, and they've kind of become my champion at this point. But some other mentors who have just started seeing, they're more just mentors because they don't know me super well yet. And you have to kind of sell yourself in a way to a mentor and a champion to get them to really want to support you. And I think it all comes down to getting along with them. And if you can really get personal and you feel comfortable being around them. I've had some people who I thought I would be awesome and wanted to have as a mentor, and I would meet with them, then it just didn't completely click. It just felt like it was a little off, and I still had a great relationship with these people, but I did not pursue a mentoring relationship with them in the future. So it's really all about, are you comfortable with this person? Do you feel like the conversation flows? Do you feel like they are giving the right advice? Um, and we'll talk more about what makes a good mentor and champion later, but just thinking about those things when you are looking for a champion and a mentor. So, why do you need a champion or a mentor? So, oftentimes in your career, in college, even in high school, and especially when you start working, you're going to be in difficult situations where you're not sure what to do, or maybe you're unhappy with your job, like you feel very stuck, or you feel like you aren't getting recognized, um, and you're just in a difficult spot. So mentors and champions are awesome for this. They will give you advice, or they'll even try to figure out how to get you out of that situation and talk with other people that they know. So it can be awesome to get help in that situation from someone like that. Also, I have a lot of mentors who have a lot of technical knowledge, so I just ask them a lot of technical questions, and so we have highly technical talks, and that way I'm able to learn, and it's kind of like knowledge transfer. And I think this is very common in a university setting where your mentor is like a professor, and you're learning a lot from them technically. So next is information on opportunities. So a lot of champions and mentors, they know of opportunities that you might not know because they are higher level. They see things in a different group. Um, and they are just in a different like position than you are, so they would be able to pass those opportunities on to you. I've gotten a lot of jobs and projects that I work on from my mentors. For example, the machine learning project I work on Orion is because of one of my mentors. They put my name in for this position and I just started working on it, so I've gotten a ton of opportunities from that. So that's why knowing your brand is super important, because if your champion and mentor know your brand and also you've shown them you can produce results, they're more willing to pass on opportunities to you. And again, someone to advocate for you, so someone to bring you up to opportunities and say that you're awesome. So the next thing is how to find a champion and mentor. This is pretty tricky. And when I was first working, I felt like I did not know where to even find a mentor. I didn't, everyone in my work circle, I felt like I did not really want as a mentor or champion. And it didn't exactly click. So I had to search outside of my smaller circle. So look around you and look even more around you. So teachers, professors, managers, upperclassmen, your mentor does not have to be someone who is high up in a company or high up at a university. You can have peer mentors. I mentor a lot of employees at Lockheed who are only a year below me or 2 years below me. And I even mentor college students, even though I graduated college about 3 years ago. Um, and I also have a lot of mentors who are not that much older than me. And I think there's a lot of value in peer mentoring, which is what it's called, because that person, they understand your situation a little bit more because they are closer to your age and they can give you advice in a different way. So I think it's valuable to have lots of different kinds of mentors. So I think about 5 or 6 mentors right now. So you can have a lot of mentors and champions. There's no limit. And definitely you want to have some peer mentors, some mentors that are higher up, and have like a good range of that. Another great source for mentors is speakers you meet at conferences. So if you go to an awesome speaker at this conference that all of you are attending and you just really think that they're awesome and you love what they're talking about, definitely reach out to them, contact the conference people who are putting on the program and ask them how to get in contact and start emailing them and figure out how to call each other and see if it's a good mentoring situation. It's great to have mentors that are outside of your general area because you'll learn a lot more and you'll get a different perspective. I also wanted to pass on 2 tools, 2 websites for finding mentors, and I'll also talk a bit about these organizations. So, the Society of Women Engineers, or SWE, is an international organization, and I definitely recommend all of you to try to sign up and become a member. But they have a membership and mentoring link where they match you up with mentors. So that is the link for that over there. And then there's also SGAC, which is the Space Generation Advisory Council. This is space specific, but it is a group of young professionals, and I'm part of this group. And they are all just super passionate about space, but they're all over the world. So there's people from Paraguay, there's people from Brazil, there's people from Kenya, and all over the world. It's really great. So in general, I recommend you join this organization, but they also have a mentoring program where you can get matched with a mentor. So organizations like these are a great way if you just feel stuck and feel like you can't find a mentor. These are avenues where you can look to find one. So next, we'll talk about what makes a good champion mentor. And I touched on this a little bit before, but it's kind of broken up into 3 major areas. Someone who is friendly, like you feel comfortable around them, you feel like you can be yourself, you feel that you are going to get supported by this person, especially because you talk to them for, for about an hour every month or so. So you want to actually like them as a person and respect them is a big thing also. Next is experience, and this again doesn't relatively mean you want someone who has been working for 10 years. They just need to have experience relevant to what you want to get advice in. So, I have a lot of experience with systems engineering, so that could be, a topic which I mentor in. So you just have to look for someone who has experiences relevant to what you're interested in. Next is willingness. So you need to have someone who's willing to support you and willing to make time for you. And it doesn't have to be a lot of time. It could be like an hour every 2 weeks or an hour a month. Or even in 30 minutes every month or something, whatever works. But they have to be willing to put some time in, and you're gonna also have to put some time in for them. But if someone is super busy and just unable to make it work, that's totally fine. That's not on anybody, but that person might not be a great mentor for you. So next, I want to talk about how to actually approach someone and ask them to be a champion or mentor. So first is contact, and that is emailing, texting, WhatsApping, LinkedIn messaging somebody and asking them if they are interested in tagging up to talk about mentoring and general career advice. So it's always a little awkward first email to ask someone to be your mentor, but just know that they get they've had that kind of email before, or it's very common and it's not really awkward. It's just in your head, and you just have to ask them the question, and then yeah, just send out the email or whatever you're using to communicate. After they respond to you and they say, "Yes, I'd love to meet with you," next is to schedule a meeting. And I know in this virtual COVID world, we've all learned how to be better at virtual meetings. So Zoom is great, but there's also Google Hangouts. You could even do FaceTime, and a lot of other, video conferencing tools that you could use. So it's on you to schedule the meeting. It is your responsibility as the mentee to take the initiative and set it up. If you forget to, you can't expect the mentor and champion to set it up for you, because you are asking them for a favor. So you need to make it as easy for them as possible. So definitely don't hesitate to schedule the meeting as soon as possible, and figure out if it's the right fit. So that's the next step. Determine if right fit. And the first meeting you have with the mentor or champion is really figuring out if it works out. So it's kind of like the first date when you go on a date with somebody. It's to see if it is a good match, if you have chemistry, if it's going to work out. If it isn't, then it's totally fine. You just, be like, thank you so much for meeting. I don't think um, this is the right fit. I really appreciate your time and really value your experiences and perspective. So you kind of let them know that you're not really going to be able to continue to meet with them, but you really appreciate their time. But if you do find the right fit, you want to set up a recurring meeting. So usually set up recurring meeting notices with my mentors, and people who I mentor also do that with me. They set up regular meetings, and that way you don't even have to think about scheduling it. It just automatically happens, and it works for both of your schedules, and you can always move it around as the time comes. So definitely go through all these steps for how to approach a champion and mentor, and you will have success. So next is all about networking, which is another one of my favorite topics. So I know there's a lot of talk about networking, but what is it really, and what is a network, and what is networking? So your network is the group of people that you have worked with, you've talked to, you've met at conferences, um, just people in your life, in your career, and they have seen you grow, they've seen you do things, they've seen you talk, they've worked with you, so they can vouch for you a little bit, and they're basically your friends. I view my network as my group of friends, and I also view networking as making friends with people. So networking is talking to people at conferences and other events, and just getting to be their friends in a professional manner. And also, you can, hang out with them outside of work related things. So for me, networking is a lot of fun because it's just making a lot of friends. So, why do you need a network? So, as I mentioned before, I got my job on the Ryan team through networking. So, because I knew a lot of people from college or in college who worked at Lockheed Martin from going to a conference, I reached out to those people and asked them to give my resume to other people on their teams and to help get me a specific position. So, because I did that, that person had seen me at conferences, seen me talk, seen me be a leader. They sent my resume to a lot of other people, and I was able to get a job offer from that. So it really gives you a lot of access to opportunities. And also, you can get a lot of advice from people, and it doesn't have to be, it's not like a formal mentoring situation, but when you are talking and networking with people, um, you can ask questions on common problems you face. For example, I was talking to someone at a conference I went to 2 weeks ago in Dubai. We were talking about how a lot of times women get a lot of logistical and organizing kind of tasks with work. And we were talking about what's some advice, like what are some things that you do to push back on that, or to kind of stop that from being the norm. So there's lots of interesting conversations you can have through networking about problems you face. And another awesome thing with networking is that it's usually outside of your work circle. So you learn about what's happening in the rest of the world and what other people are working on, how other people do work, what are other process things that people do in their companies or in their universities. So it's super valuable with regards to that. And some networking tips. I have done a lot of networking. I really enjoy it, and I feel like I've learned a lot about the best way to do it. So, first, you want business cards. I have an example on the right. So, this is a really simple example. It doesn't have to be that artistic. It could be really simple, just a empty card, but you want your name on it in the biggest lettering. Then you want your title. So, I would have systems engineer, then your phone number and your email and maybe your LinkedIn account. And if you also have a website, which is your portfolio that has all the results that we talked about before, you could link that in here too. So having a good business card is really important, and you can print those out really easily at any printer service in your country or wherever you live. Next is working on your elevator pitch. So, your elevator pitch is a short statement on what you're passionate about. It is basically your brand in a statement in a few sentences. So, let's say you get in an elevator with somebody and you have to talk about what you are and what you believe in and what you work on. So, that is kind of like the length of the conversation. It's like one elevator ride. So, elevator pitch is really important to get down, and that kind of comes with knowing your brand and building your brand. Next, networking is all about getting people to talk about themselves. People love talking about themselves, especially engineers. So you just have to ask them questions about themselves. So, what do you do for work? Like what do you do outside of work? And just let the conversation flow that way. So it's really not that intimidating. It's basically how you might talk to your friends, but you are, starting off with someone you've never met before. And again, networking is just making friends with people. So it's a lot of fun. So if there's any networking events that you can attend, I highly recommend that you do and just get yourself out there and get into it, and have fun with it too. Don't be intimidated. So, lastly, we're going to talk about finding opportunities. So, let's say you've done all the different things that I've talked about, you've built your brand, you have curated your results and done your technical prowess, and you've also found a mentor, found a champion, and then you've also done a lot of networking. So, you've done all those awesome steps, but now it's about getting the opportunities. So, first, of course, is your resume and cover letter. Those are super important to have looking good. You want it to be really simple and easy to read. I've done a lot of college recruiting, so I've looked at a lot of resumes, and what people want to see in companies, they want to see the most important things at the top, the most things that are relevant to their company at the top. So organize your resume in a smart way. If you don't have LinkedIn, definitely get LinkedIn, and feel free to add me. But LinkedIn is great for having your network in one location because sometimes a lot of people live in different areas and you can't necessarily see them all the time. So LinkedIn is great for that. And there's also a lot of opportunities in LinkedIn. You can get contacted by recruiters. You could contact a recruiter for a job opportunity. There's like programs that you can see in LinkedIn. There's a lot of opportunities in it in of itself. So definitely spend some time on LinkedIn, make your profile really nice. Next is organizations that you can join. So as I mentioned, Society of Women Engineers or SWE, then the Space Generation Advisory Council, SGAC. Those are two main international ones that are really great and have a really strong international presence. I would highly recommend to all of you. And they all have websites and you can just find them by searching it up. And if you have any questions about them, feel free to contact me. Another thing is continuous learning. So, how to always be learning even after you graduate college. So, Coursera has online courses for machine learning and other coding things. Same with Udacity. Data Camp is all about data analytics and data science and has a lot of like intro to Python type courses. MIT has a lot of online courses you can do as well. So these are all really accessible to everybody, and I highly recommend them because you're going to be building skills, building technical skills, and it's going to be a great way to get more opportunities. And sometimes after these courses, you can put them on your LinkedIn, and you will get contacted for different jobs even based off of your completion of those courses. So highly recommend all of those. Next, definitely leverage your network and champions and mentors. So if you want to do something, ask your network, ask your champion, ask your mentor. Be like, hey, I want to work on machine learning. I want to do some deep learning assignments with facial recognition. They will look out for it. They'll know what you want to do, and then they'll be able to tell you when they find out about that. So that this is again kind of in line with building your brand, but being active with it and actually contacting them when you need to. So if you do all of these, you will have tons of opportunities, and you're really taking your career into your own hands. So, in conclusion, completing all these steps or as many as you can. You don't have to do all of these, but it'd be great if you could. You're really going to be taking your career into your own hands, advocating for your own career, and you'll really be able to achieve great results and really take your career to the next level. And it's crazy what a little drive and determination and action can do. So definitely contact me if you have any questions about anything. My email is below, and hope everyone got a lot out of this presentation, and glad to have the opportunity to talk to all of you today.
Hi,
Hello.
Sapna. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So nice to have you here. We have a few questions from the audience. I'm gonna read it in English, and I'm gonna do a little bit of this translation in Spanish so the rest of the people can understand. So the first question, here we go, is from Elena Tarditi. It say, how did you overcome the gender stereotype that you mentioned facing during your study and your career? What were your strategy? And in Spanish would be, ¿cómo sobrellevaste los estereotipos de género que mencionaste, enfrentaste durante tus estudios y tu carrera? ¿Y cuál fue tu estrategia? Go ahead.
Great. Yeah, this is an awesome question. And something that I learned is that you can actually use you being different and looking different. And, my name is different than the American names that a lot of people are used to. You actually stand out a lot, and people don't forget you, which is really big. You want people to remember you. And anything that you can do to be remembered is really important. So I actually kind of stopped feeling embarrassed or self conscious or uncomfortable, and just felt like people were watching me. And that meant that I had to do a lot of cool things and do a lot of good work. And then people would know that, hey, I remember her, but also she's doing a lot. So I think like using something that might make you feel uncomfortable in a good way is how you can come out stronger. But also, again, as I talk about performing and showing results, you still have to show that you can do the work. But you'll be remembered way easier than all the, millions of like white males in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely right. So let's move on to the next question. This is from Janina Portillo. And she said, I'm currently at college and want to start job searching soon, but I don't have experience in the field. Can you give me some advice about starting your own portfolio to showcase companies my knowledge? En Spanish, that will be que actualmente estoy en la universidad y quiero empezar un trabajo, empezar mi búsqueda de trabajo, pero no tengo experiencia en el campo. Si me puedes dar algún consejo sobre cómo empezar a crear mi propio portfolio y cómo mostrar mis conocimientos a las compañías para trabajar. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
this is another great question. So I think, first of all, for having things to show companies, if you've done any projects in college, even any scripts you had to write for a class, like for example, I took a materials class, and we made a code that calculates various physical kind of values for a composite material. I made a really big script for that, and I put that in my portfolio because even though it's something I did in school, it's still really cool and really useful. So go back and think about what projects you worked on in college, and those are all things you can add to your portfolio. And also, if you have done any side projects, like let's say you wanted to program an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi just for fun, those are also great things to put. And if you haven't started anything yet and you want to add things like that, I recommend first doing the classes that I mentioned, so Coursera, Data Camp, to get the skills. And then honestly, Data Camp has project ideas that you can do within the tool, so you could do projects through that. Coursera also has projects you can do. You can also just search projects related to specific things you're interested in and start getting those done. And in terms of making a portfolio, it's really easy to make websites nowadays. You don't need a lot of like HTML coding experience. I think Squarespace is a great one. But also, there's so many different ones out there that you could easily search up. And even me, who's not a software programmer hardcore, I could make my own websites. I'd recommend making a website of everything and putting links to things, making pages, taking pictures of stuff you've done. You can also do it in LinkedIn a little bit by making posts of what you've done or adding it to your skill sets. Um, and even if you those options aren't available, social media is really powerful now. So you could even make like an Instagram account or Twitter or TikTok, whatever, and show what you're doing, and that could be your portfolio nowadays. So yeah, those are all just some ideas, but there's so much ways to do things, and really don't discount anything you've done in the past. It could be really useful for companies to know that you've done it. So yeah, great
Great.
question.
Yeah, and I find another great question from Jasmine de Moraes here. Um, and she said, what are some tips to improve effectiveness and organize your app? Prioritize your tasks for the day in the morning or the night before. In Spanish, that would be, si tienes algunos tips para mejorar la eficiencia, a lo mejor una app para organizar o priorizar las actividades eh, durante el día o una noche previa. Let's go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah. So first of all, to improve effectiveness, I work on a lot of different things every day, and if I don't focus on certain things, I'll just not do anything. So for me, I really have to plan out what I'm going to work on. So I, use Outlook calendar or Google Calendar, and I will make appointments for myself, like an hour appointment. I'm going to work on this task for an hour, and that's all that I can work on then. So sometimes I will completely schedule my day by doing that. And it seems kind of annoying, but it really helps and you actually get a lot done. In terms of organizer apps, there's a lot of kind of scheduler or planner apps out there. I prefer to write things down. So this is an example of a planner that I have. And I always think you need to have like a good looking, like a cute planner to encourage you to use it. So the one that I use is from a company called Papier, but Amazon has a lot of options. And planners are really up to the person. Like certain people like really specific types of planners. I like more general ones. I usually just write a list of things and a priority of when I want to accomplish them, and I do it the night before. So that way, the next day, I already know what I'm going to do and I don't have to think about it. So I do that every day, and then I mark off the tasks as I do them. But I think just figuring out how you best stay organized is going to be important because it's different for everybody. But I think the most useful thing is plotting out each day, making meeting notices for what you're going to do. That's helped me out a ton.
Yeah, I was thinking that I do the same thing, but I will
Yeah.
start doing the thing that you're doing with the calendar. I think that can help me too, because I
Yeah.
have this
Yeah.
problem with effectiveness all the time.
yeah, it'll change your productivity a lot.
I hope so. So this is a question in Spanish, but I will translate it in English after. It says, ¿cuáles son los pasos de carrera siguientes para Sapna? In English, that will be, what are the next steps for you in your career?
Yeah. So right now I'm just trying to work on a lot of things and developing skills. And something that I also want to talk about a little bit in industry, I feel like a lot of women get pushed to be a manager or coordinating things. They don't get pushed to be a technical role. And part of this is because there's a big stereotype that women are really good at taking notes, at being organized, having good handwriting, doing more of the coordination things. And you might notice that a little bit if you worked with, a lot of men in your teams, that you might get stuck, making the meeting notices, taking the notes. And there's not a lot of support for women getting into technical roles, like being a chief engineer, being the technical expert, getting a PhD. There's not as many women who pursue that. And it's, a mix of social stereotypes and it's not just not pointing any fingers. It's just how society unfortunately is. But I feel like I've gotten that pressure a lot also, but I really get a lot of value out of doing technical work. So I want to keep going and doing technical work and growing my skills and potentially being, a chief engineer, a systems architect, like a high up technical role where I might still be leading groups, but I am mainly focused on the technical work. So I encourage all of you to make sure you're not getting pressured by society to be a manager, to be a leader. And if that's what you want to do, that is perfectly fine. Those are amazing roles, but make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. So I think this is the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for your time, Sabna, and a really, really nice presentation and inspiring as well. For a last comment, I want to say something in Spanish relating to mentoring. Lo que mencionó Sabna de las mentorías, ¿verdad? De la importancia de la mentoría me parece súper importante porque nosotras también desde KuñaFest estamos ahora preparando un programa de mentoría después de este congreso. Entonces, para que tengan en cuenta, estén siempre atentos a nuestras redes sociales, porque apenas termine KuñaFest, vamos a lanzar el formulario para que se puedan inscribir a las mentorías. Thank you, Sabna.
Thank you. Thanks
Have
for
a really
listening,
nice
everyone.
day.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy the rest of the conference, everyone.
You too. Bye.
Bye.